Should be, and we're live. Boop. Welcome back to uh watching Spider-Man stuff because the No Way Home trailer came out with Doc Ock and Green Goblin, and Quinlan swears there's a lizard, but that picture I've seen like online and it's very blurry to tell, but he swears,
Oh, it's
so
a
it's
lizard
there.
claw. It's a lizard
Okay.
claw. Yeah,
Uh,
it's there. I say
and
it's there, so it's there.
All right, yeah, and then a bunch of sand and lightning, so probably Electro and Sandman. So with that, I gotta get the sharing feature on here. Gonna share screen. Share now. Oop, or should I do window? Yeah, I'll do window. Alrighty, I got the share screen. That's going on now. Inception. Alrighty, so
I can see it.
alright, you can see this too, the high top films, who everybody should
Yep,
subscribe
I
to.
can see it all. Yep.
Alrighty, perfect.
Oh, I forgot that last night.
Yeah. Oh, there you go. Reminder today. Oop. Okay. And
I will
here.
subscribe today, right after this.
Yep. There you go. All right. And here we go.
I really think Sam is just a great filmmaker, and he really displays that in this movie. I mean, he didn't just like oh, make a better film. Oh, this is better than the first one. I mean, he whooped the first one's ass.
That was the teaser for Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2. Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 is not only my favorite superhero movie, but my favorite film of all time. It's hard talking about your favorite film of all time, trying to put into words how it means so much, trying to share why it means so much. It's personal. This is personal. So, where do we start? It looks at me every day. My plans for Spider-Man 4. Oh boy, if Sam only knew how I felt about him. But he can never know. He made a choice once to not come back for the fourth film, a Spider-Man film he will never be a part of. Who am I? You ever have those childhood favorites? Favorite food when you were 4, favorite book when you were 14? Now, how many of those childhood favorites are still your favorites? How many of those hold up? My favorite movie when I was 5 was, yeah, you guessed it, Spider-Man 2. It's one of the few moments that I vividly remember experiencing at such a young age. My parents took me to the Waterworks Theater, this theater. I remember the smell of popcorn and the feeling of excitement. I'd watched the first film on VHS every day for the last year. Waterworks had some dude dressed as Spider-Man hanging out in the theater, or maybe some dude decided to dress like Spider-Man. Either way, I thought he was Spider-Man. Imagine that, being a 5-year-old boy whose dad taught him to read with Spider-Man, watching Spider-Man 2 with Spider-Man. 2 hours and 7 minutes later, and I was a changed man, a changed kid. I never saw a movie like that. I never had an experience like that. Believe it or not, I think 5-year-old me understood the power of Spider-Man after those 2 hours. I think he understood the power of film. God, that's pretentious. But hey, I specifically remember something my dad said to me as the credits were rolling.
That wasn't just a good superhero movie. That was a great movie.
I thought about that the entire car ride home. What is a great movie? What made a great movie? I didn't know the answer at the time, but that answer was Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 was my childhood favorite. Childhood favorites are always scary to revisit. What if they don't hold up? What if what was cool when you were 5 isn't as cool when you're 20? I revisit my childhood favorite every year, and every year it gets better. Here's why. Upping the ante. It's a miracle that this movie exists. Is that a tad hyperbolic? No, not at all. Hear me out on this one. Spider-Man was released on May 3rd, 2002 and made $114,844,116 its opening weekend, making it, at the time, the largest opening weekend of all time.
Yeah, definitely emphasize at the time, because no longer is that the case. Freaking Endgame and Infinity War. Insane. The amount of money.
Oh, they demolished that. They demolished that.
Yeah. Yeah. For the time, it's pretty good money. But yeah, for sure. Insane.
With inflation, it might hold up similar, but
Yeah.
In Hollywood, if you direct a film that makes that much money opening weekend, you're pretty much a god. So instead of celebrating like a god, instead of partying like the fucking rock star he was, Sam Raimi got to work on the sequel.
It really never stopped. We released the first movie and went right into the development and production of the second one. So it wasn't like I actually had a week off. I don't think Sam had a day off.
Not only did Sam Raimi have to top himself, top the instantly iconic first film, he had to find a way to progress the story, progress the characters, and progress the filmmaking in a way that felt true to the ideas and heart of that first film. And he did. Everything Sam Raimi did in Spider-Man 1, he does better in Spider-Man 2. From the beautiful Alex Ross opening credits that recap the first film and make this one feel like a grand freaking event, to the performances of the actors, to the script.
On the prairie, this green hall of garments. Her hair was like the sunshine. Day by day, engaged the plot.
Screenplay. God, I love the screenplay. I love the poetic lines.
I'm not an empty seat anymore. I'm different. Punch me, I'd bleed.
I love how melancholy the whole thing is. I love the parallels to the first film that tell us things about Peter's character and his growth. I love how everything is in service of Peter's growth and Peter's character. I love how serious it treats its characters and how confident it is in its themes. I love it. I love this screenplay. Come on, people. What other superhero movies are written by Oscar-winning screenwriters? I understand. Alvin Sullivan's screenplay for Spider-Man 2, like kept Spider-Man 1 screenplay, keeps the plot simple, perhaps even simpler than the first film. Our protagonist, Peter Parker, has to learn to live with the responsibility of being Spider-Man while stopping Doc Ock. It's a classic Spider-Man tale. I don't want to sound like a broken record, but keeping things simple is what allows for complexity. Your plot is simple if you don't have to constantly explain your plot to the audience through pages of exposition. That gives you more freedom to explore the complexity of the characters. If your story is simple, that gives you more freedom to implement complex filmmaking. Spider-Man 2's screenplay asks a very complex question. Why? Why would Peter Parker want to be Spider-Man when being Spider-Man is actively destroying his life? The first hour of the movie demonstrates this. Peter's life fucking sucks. MJ is sick of waiting around for him. Aunt May can't afford to keep her home. Harry is resentful of Spider-Man and by extension Peter for taking pictures of Spider-Man. He's failing at school. He fails at his pizza delivery job, which means the only way he can
Go.
is by giving Jameson photos of himself that Jameson then uses to slander his name and reputation.
that's a great scene.
Stop that for a second. The only way for this guy to pay his bills is to help this madman ruin
Pizza
his
time.
image. Every positive thing Spider-Man does results in a negative for Peter Parker.
No one will be seated after the doors are closed.
Every life Spider-Man
Oh, that
saves.
jerk. I hate that guy.
That's the same announcer from the first movie, because that's, or not the same guy, but it's the same actor, because that's
Right.
Raimi's best
The
friend.
one he put
Yeah.
in, who he put in all
Evil
the
Dead.
movies, yeah.
Mm.
Don't hate
Yeah.
him, his actor, obviously. Hate the
Yeah.
character he played there. That
Yeah.
was so annoying.
Yeah, because the time is up. Like, bro, he has the ticket. Just let him in. Such a stupid thing. But some people are like that.
Results in a worse life for Peter Parker.
Joe's 29-minute guarantee is a promise, man. I know to you, Parker, a promise means nothing.
Peter tries his best to be active to change his life, but Spider-Man's life won't allow him to. Spider-Man may be the hero of New York City, but Peter is a depressed nobody who is losing the last positive and human connections he has. All this negativity comes to a head during John Jameson's party, or what I like to call the worst night
Oh,
of
no.
Peter Parker's life.
No! I hate...
T-Mobile for Business
I'm
is
so
using
sorry.
unconventional thinking to
Ch-
create new
Well,
Don't check
you
out
are being
T-Mobile.
paid by them, right?
Yeah, definitely. I'm I'm getting
Yeah.
huge amounts of money from that, for sure.
Yeah. Tell us about T-Mobile, Alex. Just a little.
It's T-Mobile is a phone service that gives you the greatest service that a phone could provide.
Well, I'm convinced. I'm convinced.
Awesome. All right, guys, give me my money.
It's a,
No,
it's a good
no,
thing I already have T-Mobile, isn't it?
oh, I got. Oh fudge! I think I have T-Mobile too, because I had Sprint, but I think T-Mobile bought Sprint. Oh my gosh, it's all
Yeah,
connected.
they did.
It's all connected. Well, that's kind of weird. Yeah, I don't know what's going on here. And then you got this man, this legend, and then this person has no idea what's going on. It's kind of funny. This person does not
Funny to watch
like.
the extras sometimes.
Yeah, then this person looks like this old guy is flirting with her, and she's not having it. Anyway,
Not into it at all.
nope. I'm gonna keep going.
Hero gets pushed around by Jameson, slapped by his best friend, and comes to the realization that the man Mary Jane has been dating is J. Jonah Jameson's son. John Jameson is a charming, successful, and handsome astronaut, pretty much the opposite of our boy Peter Parker. Peter desperately tries to reach MJ, but she's sick of his shit. Wouldn't you be? Come on. After she poured her heart out to him and told him that she was madly in love with him, after she goddamn told him he made her feel more like herself than anybody ever has, he friend-zoned her and left her alone at Norman's funeral, and just alone. These movies are very much from Peter's perspective, so of course we think MJ is being a bit of a jerk towards him, but if you think about it, Peter has been just as bad, if not worse. Mary Jane's life and career are thriving. Her face is everywhere. She's even the lead in a successful play. She managed to make her dreams come true without Peter. And when MJ tries to share herself with Peter, which she constantly does, when she tries to connect with Peter, he can't be honest with her. The two kids connecting in the backyard has become two adults unable to connect.
Was wondering if you're still in the village.
It's not really his fault, it's Spider-Man's fault, like everything else that's wrong with his life.
I wish I could tell you how I feel right now.
He can't tell MJ the truth. That would be selfish of him, or maybe it's selfish.
I just lost all audio. Okay, I'm guessing that's on purpose.
Also,
You
sorry,
good,
I just
bro?
had to. Yeah, sorry. My dog was barking, so I didn't know if something was going on. So I was just checking that. But did you say anything?
Yeah. No. I was asking if you were there. Pretty helpless situation, really.
Yeah.
Like I thought that asking if you were there was gonna help or something. Dogs are ridiculous. They bark at nothing. They're like, "Is that
Yeah.
something I hear?
Yeah.
Well, I'm gonna bark. Is there
Yeah.
nothing at all anywhere? I'm gonna bark anyways."
Yeah, for sure.
It's
But I just
insane.
thought I'd check. Yeah.
Yeah. Obviously, don't want someone coming in and
Yeah.
robbing your place and smashing your head off a desk.
Yeah. That'd be an interesting in a stream though. You just hear me like screaming. That'd be crazy.
Yeah, that would be very interesting.
Yeah. I think that would get some views. Alright, I'll keep
I think
going.
it would. Whether or
Yeah,
not
for
you
sure.
live to see it, I'd probably
Yeah.
reap the benefits of it.
Probably.
Well, my friend Alex died, but at least now I have 50 more subscribers than I used to. So thanks for taking
Man, 15 for my death.
taking an L
That's
for me.
it's giving me too much net worth. Right. Alright.
Back to Spider-Man.
Isn't that right? His best friend who protected him in high school now wants nothing to do with him.
Huh? Isn't that right? Huh, brother?
All because of Spider-Man. And to make things even worse, if that's even possible at this point, Mary Jane, probably due to her talk with Peter, has now
Just agreed to marry me.
This is Peter Parker's breaking point. Or maybe the fact that he has to take a photograph of this moment is his breaking point. Five minutes of film, which is around 5 pages
Oh,
of
that's like salt in an open wound, isn't it?
Yeah.
his chest because of his actions as Spider-Man. So let me ask you again. Why would Peter Parker want to be Spider-Man? The answer is he wouldn't. He swings away from the party. Remember when swinging high above the streets provided him with a sense of exhilaration and freedom? But not this time. This swinging sequence is sad. This doesn't bring him joy anymore. Putting on the costume only brings him pain, which is why
Oh no. No.
his powers stop working. That's why after witnessing one of his idols lose his wife and turn into a monster, that's why after constantly disappointing everyone in his life, that's why after going to this beatdown, he loses his will to be Spider-Man and loses his will to live up to Uncle Ben's ideals. Now this scene right here, I could do an entire video on this one scene, but instead I'll just turn to a section of this mess of a video. Hold on.
Things you've been thinking about, Peter. Make me sad.
Uncle Ben. Fun fact, if you search Uncle Ben on YouTube, one of the videos that pops up is a video I uploaded on my old channel I had when I was a prepubescent lad. That video is, yeah, it's this scene. My young, scrawny ass was so profoundly affected by this scene that I felt the need to torrent the movie, take it into Windows Movie Maker, edit just this scene, and then upload it to the masses on my parents' slow-ass internet. Now I realize there was a reason for that. Peter Parker has given up. He doesn't want to, but he can't not be Spider-Man until facing the reason he is Spider-Man.
Peter, all the times we talked of honesty, fairness, justice, all of those times I counted on you to have the courage to take those dreams out into the world.
I can't live your dreams anymore. I want a life of my own.
I cry every time I watch this scene. Call me a soy boy, call me a crybaby, call me whatever you want, but this gets to me. Not because of how well filmed it is, not because it takes us back to the last time Pete ever got the chance to have a conversation with Ben, but because of this moment right here.
Take my hands up.
Look at the look on Ben's face. He's heartbroken.
No, Uncle Ben. I'm just Peter Parker.
Well, if you think about it, it isn't Ben who is heartbroken. After all, Peter is talking to himself. He's coming to terms with what he desires versus what he thinks is right. In order to not be Spider-Man, Peter has to let go of Uncle Ben. He has to kill that part of himself driven by Ben, driven by responsibility, in order to be happy. It's the ultimate man versus self scene, and it's genuinely heartbreaking. I remember crying my eyes out when Raimi recreated this iconic image. I thought that was it. I thought the movie was over. I thought they were fading to black for the last time and Spider-Man was finished.
Yeah, that scene. Oh, so good. I love that Uncle Ben too. I like the Uncle Ben from Amazing Spider-Man, but he's no Uncle Ben from that.
Yeah, Raimi Uncle Ben is the GOAT. He's the best Uncle Ben. What I'd be
At least-
interested to see in the Tom Holland Spider-Man movies is if Aunt May met a young man named Ben or something like that. They're setting something like that up, but with a different dynamic, obviously. As it would obviously be. I'd be interested to see the MCU Uncle Ben.
That would be weird because it doesn't seem like he had that much of an effect on Peter. Because it seems like the one who has the most effect on him as a character in the MCU is Tony Stark. I mean, sure, he was already helping people by the time Tony met him, but he wasn't doing anything crazy. He was like stopping crashing cars and stuff and everything. and he didn't actually have any
Yeah.
superpowers or anything. There was nothing really driving him, or there's nothing really going against him to make him not want to be Spider-Man or anything like this. It was just, all right, I have these powers, so why not do them? But he never ever mentions that his uncle was the reason for why he started doing that, which you think would be a perfect moment while he's talking to Tony, but he doesn't. He says, when you have these powers, like I do, and you don't use them, you know, wouldn't that be a wrong thing to
Yeah.
do or something like that? He doesn't mention Ben though at all, which makes me think that Ben had no relevance in his life, that he just died. So I don't know how they would do that, but I mean, I wouldn't mind seeing Uncle Ben. The thing is he's just kind of irrelevant, and I don't even know why. Because like literally, they've had references to him, but if they never mentioned him in any of these films, I would have just assumed this in this universe, Uncle Ben never existed, because
Right, yeah.
honestly, it doesn't affect anything. But yeah, I love that Spider-Man 2, the first one, you know, deals with him becoming the superhero and saving the day. And this one's like, okay, now I'm the hero. Now what? Now I have these powers, but it's constantly messing with my normal life. Now I can't do. I'm failing my college classes. Me and the girl that I liked, even though it's my fault because I rejected her in the first movie. You know, we have problems there. My best friend hates me because I take pictures of Spider-Man to get paid. And then, you know, the only one who's still really there for him is his aunt. But so I just think it's really interesting that he decides to give it up for a bit in this movie. We haven't even gotten to the freaking boy yet, the Doc Ock, which is one of the biggest reasons I wanted to watch these videos with someone, is because I saw him at the end of No Way Home. I'm like, Spider-Man 2, the best Spider-Man movie to date, in my opinion.
Spider-Man 2 is probably my second or third favorite Spider-Man movie.
Yes, because of
my
Amazing
favorite
Spider-Man.
my favorite being The Amazing Spider-Man, and then it's a toss-up between Spider-Man Far From Home and Spider-Man 2 for me for second or third. Can't figure out which way around.
Well, I could say for certainty it goes for me, between those two options. It's obviously Spider-Man 2, but if we're also including Amazing Spider-Man, I still say Amazing Spider-Man and Spider-Man 2 are better than Far From Home, but that's just me. Not that I don't like
should
Far
rank
From
those
Home.
movies. We should rank all the Spider-Man movies sometime, like including Spider-Verse.
I mean, I
all
could do
that
it
kind
now
of
for you,
stuff.
no problem. I could do that right now for you, no problem. Spider-Man 2, and then Spider-Man 1, Into the Spider-Verse, Amazing Spider-Man, Homecoming, Far From Home. Then it's Spider-Man 3, and then Amazing Spider-Man 2 at the very bottom.
All right. Well, for me, it would go. Can you hear me before I start this?
Yeah, I can hear you. You're good.
Okay. Well, my favorite is The Amazing Spider-Man, Spider-Man 2, Spider-Man Far From Home, Into the Spider-Verse, the first Spider-Man, Spider-Man Homecoming, then The Amazing Spider-Man 2, and then Spider-Man 3 is last.
You actually put Spider-Man 3 at the bottom? That's interesting.
Yeah, one below.
Because there's so many
Spider-Man
problems.
2.
There's so many problems I have with Amazing Spider-Man 2. So I couldn't do that.
Oh yeah, there's so many problems.
I have issues with Spider-Man 3, but there's less issues I have with Spider-Man 3 than I do with Amazing Spider-Man. The whole second act of Amazing Spider-Man 2, it's just, I don't know. But that's fair. You grew up with it, so I can't hate on you for it. But yeah. But definitely interesting. All right, I'm gonna continue. Yeah.
Sounds good.
Did Sam just?
Oh, I love that scene.
In the film, right next to the funniest montage in a superhero movie. Yeah, he did, and it works beautifully. In fact, all of this is beautifully executed.
That scene's so great, so happy.
Nothing to execute without
so
a screenplay
upbeat.
that isn't afraid to ask this question of why. Spider-Man 2 isn't afraid to be, dare I say it, adult? Sam Raimi is acutely aware of the fact that at the end of the day, Spider-Man and the lessons that come with Spider-Man are geared towards younger viewers. But Sargent and him don't pull any punches in depicting how shitty life can be. Constantly letting people down, even if you don't mean to, being broke, struggling to pay rent, supporting your parents who want to support you.
You need it more than I do.
No, I can't take that.
Yes, you can. You can take this money from me. For God's sake, it's not much. Now take it.
Are all a part of being a young adult. It's a realistic fantasy tale about growing up. I just turned 20, and as I ranted on about earlier, Spider-Man 2 has been my favorite movie since I was 5. And as I get older, I find myself relating more and more to Peter's struggles in this film. And that's the beauty of Spider-Man, right? In Roger Ebert's 4-star review of the film, he said this better than I ever could. It wasn't that Spider-Man could swing from skyscrapers that won over his readers. It was that he fretted about his personal problems in the thought balloons above his Spidey face mask. The screenplay and story the film chooses to tell is the embodiment of those thought bubbles.
Counting down the best films of the year, the number 4 film on my list is Spider-Man 2, and I guess I'm amazed as you are that Spidey made my top 10, but this is a really good film. The best superhero movie ever made.
Alvin Sargent won an Academy Award for the film Ordinary People, which is ironic considering that the reason Spider-Man 2 works so well is that the most fascinating scenes aren't the action scenes. They are the scenes about ordinary people, about us. Spider-Man 2 is the most human superhero film. Can we just take a moment to appreciate that the film doesn't open on a stylish scene of Spider-Man swinging? It easily could have. Raimi could have ridden the hype wave from the first film and started off with a cool as hell action sequence. But nope, he chooses to open the movie with
Pizza time.
Pizza time.
Say anything else? All right, guys, thanks for tuning in. Part 3 will be out in the next 15 years. Bye. The Madman opens the movie with Peter Parker delivering pizzas. If somehow you watched the first movie and didn't think that Raimi got Spider-Man, well, there you go. He, most of the producers, and everyone who worked on the story clearly gets Spider-Man. Spider-Man has never been appealing because he was a cool superhero. He has always been appealing because the panels, the moments, the scenes of him doing something as ordinary as delivering pizzas are just as extraordinary as the scenes of him webbing up bad guys. When I think Spider-Man 2, I don't think about this car getting thrown through the window. I think about the conversation that takes place before. I don't think about New York getting sucked into the sun. I think about our hero using his beliefs to save the day. I don't think about that epic moment of Aunt May hitting Ock in the face. I think about a mother telling her son to keep moving forward when he's lost all hope. I think about Peter at his lowest point being reminded that people are still kind.
Would you like a piece of chocolate cake?
Spider-Man 2 is filled with these moments. It's jam-packed with moments of Peter doing laundry and reading poetry, Peter going to the campus doctor to see what's wrong with his spider ass. I live for these moments.
Can you hear me, Magneto?
Yes. Were you saying anything?
I had a weird connection thing. My brother attempted FaceTiming me and cut off everything for me.
All right, fair enough.
Yeah.
All right. So you can still see
the link to join, but I told him that this isn't my channel, this is yours. So yeah.
Yeah, I would, but since we're already in the middle of it, maybe if we finish this one, I'll let him on.
Yeah.
But
sounds good.
Yeah.
Well, we'll see if you regret it or not.
Yeah, maybe. We'll find out.
I like to think that the test of a good cape flick is to ask yourself, if I take out the grand action scenes...
He's a big Tom Holland Spider-Man fan, because that's the ones that he really kind of grew up with.
Yeah, that's fair. I hear a lot of people make that argument, not to get too sidetracked, a lot of people make that argument for the Star Wars sequels, but I don't think that holds the same weight, because, I may have grown up with the prequels more than I grew up with the OT, but I still love the OT. I don't, hate the OT because it came out in the past or anything. The sequels came out after, but, there's going to be people who love the sequels now that are growing up with it, and there's going to be people that hate the sequels now that are growing up with it. So I don't think when people say, "Oh, it's just based on whatever you grew up with," I mean, there may be something to that, but I think there's still objectively good and bad things about certain films and stuff that you can, everybody's going to have an opinion, but I don't think it's universal that every person who grew up with the new Star Wars movies are going to love them. You still there?
Yeah, I'm still there. I agree with what you're saying completely. I was just looking at how long the video is, because it feels like we've been watching it for forever, and it's only on 13.
We're on 17 minutes.
I guess we keep getting sidetracked.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So about halfway there. Sounds good. I agree with a lot of this guy's points, for sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Points about
I'm excited to rewatch
the. Appreciate it all the more.
Yeah, I'm excited to rewatch the Amazing Spider-Man with you, since that's your favorite. So.
Oh yeah.
And see how what you think of what he has to say about that.
Is one of the best. The basketball scene with Andrew Garfield, where he dunks in front of the entire school, makes a fool of Flash. One of my favorite scenes in superhero movies.
Well, I don't know if I think that's one of the favorite scenes of Spider-Man, but I get it. I just I don't know. That seems like kind of like not being very responsible with your power, because you're using it just to upstage a bully, which isn't very heroic-like, in my opinion. Seems like something you do when you're still trying to.
A similar thing in Spider-Man.
Well, yeah, because he was getting attacked, but he said over.
Things.
The only time he really showed off was when he was fighting Flash, but he didn't want to fight Flash. Flash kept antagonizing him, and he had no choice. So he gave him like 5 separate.
Garfield was defending a school who was experiencing verbal abuse from him for forever, is what was set up. All the nerds, the girl with the glasses, just being picked on by Flash, and Peter finally stood up for them there.
Yeah.
He was, which I liked. I thought it was fine in character for him there. That's just me. I love those movies.
I understand.
Well, not the second one, but you know what I mean. Yeah.
I like Amazing Spider-Man as well. I just I don't know. We can rewatch the video, and we'll see if he changes my mind, because it's been a bit since I watched it. It just made me appreciate it more than I originally had, because I was like, oh yeah, it was okay, Spider-Man movie, but it wasn't until after I watched it I was like, oh, it's actually really good. But grievances aside, with some choices made in the filmmaking. But anyway, I'll continue on.
Yeah.
The film. The answer in this case is fuck yeah.
Also, just we were kind of talking over. He was just talking about like the key to knowing if your superhero movie is successful is if you take out all the action scenes. Do you still have a good movie? Was what he was trying to say. And then he said, "Frick yeah," but the other word. So that's where he's at right now.
Yeah. Right. Did he not use that word?
Yeah, I said frick. Yeah.
Personal.
Yeah, I don't.
Okay.
I mean, I do cuss. I have cussed, like when I get really upset. I'll like frick, or I stub my toe. But
I think
try
everybody does. Yeah.
I try not to do it in public. I don't judge anybody who cusses.
Yeah.
There's plenty of people I know cuss. Some of my friends, a lot of the YouTubers we watch cuss. I mean, look at Noah or Stig, or some of those guys that are open air policy. They all cuss and stuff.
Outpost, yeah.
RK Outpost definitely cusses, yeah. But I think I wouldn't judge them necessarily. But if somebody claimed to be a Christian or something like that, and they're cussing left and right in public, because everybody, makes mistakes and everybody has issues, because we live in a sinful world. But if you're cussing left and right in public, it makes me go, well, then what are you acting like? If there's no filter in public, then how do you act in private if you're going to be that explicit out loud? So that's where I try to Like I don't
Yeah.
cuss with my. I try not to cuss around anybody I know,
I'm
but
tired. Yeah.
it's usually by myself where I cuss.
Yeah.
But I try not to. Not that there's any
I
explicit
agree with
thing in
that.
the
I don't
Bible
see
that says.
anything particularly wrong with using made-up words by our people to describe certain things. I don't see much wrong with it, but I obviously aren't going to say it around like an old couple or a 6-year-old kid.
Yeah.
I think a filter is very important, especially not cursing up a storm in a public place, or even
Like I
with
don't.
just a couple people,
I
to
don't
have
even
a bit
curse
of
with
a
my
filter to show
friends.
that you can really control yourself. But
Yeah.
yeah, if you stub your toe, hit your head. Oh,
Yeah.
I hit my elbow the other day so bad, and it
Yeah.
hurt so much. And you know, times like that, it can
The
be
F
good
word
to
just
vent your anger in a way like that.
just the F word just comes slipping out, you know. But I don't try cussing with my friends. There's been a few times where like I got scared at night because we go hiking or something, and sometimes when I get scared, I'll go like, oh. But you know, other than that, I don't usually cuss around my friends. I used to cuss a lot around my friends when I was in high school, back when I was a bit more immature. But I've kind of grown out
Hello?
of that. Hello. Can you hear me? Hello? I'm talking. I think Quinlan has died. You alive in there? Ooh. Oh. I guess we gotta wait for him to come back. Well. While we're waiting. I don't know. How's everyone doing today with the no viewers that we have? Spider-Man, No Way Home, came out. Freaking Doc Ock is back. That's pretty freaking awesome. I'm gonna try to add him back now. See if that works. Hello?
Hello?
Hi. You hear me?
Hello?
Hello? Oh boy. I don't know what happened there. We're all alone now. In this place. I'm gonna stop sharing for now. What's going on there? Hi, I'm Matt Wilkins, and I'm going through the expanding universe in chronological order as best I know how. That's who I am. Dawn of the Jedi. Bleh. Tales comics. Bleh. Freaking hate Tales comics. Cornhorn. Bleh. You know what I'm saying? Alrighty. Hello? Can you hear me?
Hello, can you hear me this time? I can hear you. Can you hear
I
me?
can hear you. Yeah, I can hear you.
Alright.
I've been able to hear you
That was
the
so
whole
weird.
time. Yeah.
Oh, okay. I couldn't hear you at all.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I heard you. You just weren't hearing me for some reason. So.
Okay. So you heard me like being like, what's going on?
Yeah, the whole stream heard. So.
Oh, that's
But
great. Glad I
yeah.
didn't say anything like, oh, Nino, anything like
Yeah.
that.
Yeah.
That
Luckily
would
you're
have been a
back.
situation.
Yeah, but luckily you're
All
back.
right.
So we can get back into this.
So, yeah, sorry that happened.
It's all
I have
good.
no idea what happened.
Happens from time to time. Alrighty. Was I not sharing audio this whole time? Oh boy.
No,
I don't
you were
know.
sharing audio. I could
Yeah, you
hear.
could.
I could hear it.
Because there's an option to share audio, but I don't know if you could hear it on stream. It's a thing. Let me check that real quick. Okay, it was. Good to know. Alrighty.
I'd
Well,
assume if you weren't sharing it, I wouldn't have heard it.
That is fair.
What I assume, at least.
Yeah. Inception. Alrighty, back to the Spiderman.
Helps that every action scene in this movie comes from a personal scene. Peter is on the way to MJ's show. Bam! Peter is watching Otto's demonstration. Bam! Peter is at the bank with Aunt May. Bam! Peter is telling MJ he can't be with her. Again. Bam! The action all comes naturally from the character. Even the classic hero versus villain conflict is rooted in emotion and not physicality. Peter in this movie isn't trying to beat Doc Ock. He's trying to save Doc Ock. Is still talked about as not only one of the greatest comic book movie villains of all time, but one of the greatest villains in cinema. And the reason for that is...
Excuse me, you cape shit-loving, pretentious, pickle-faced prick. Hans Lander, Anton Chigurh, John Doe, Jack, villains from real cinema. Doc Ock is a bitch.
And the reason for that is he's not a villain. He's a man controlled by these arms that turns into a monster. Before the arms get hot glued to his body, Otto is charming, smart, kind, someone Peter looks up to and has immense respect for. And he is also someone who represents everything Peter wants.
I think he sees in Octavius is somebody who's mastered both their gifts. In this case, it's gift of science, where he can create something for the good of
Just a
mankind.
thought, could you put the YouTube video full screen? It might be better for the audience to see.
Maybe. That's fair. Alrighty.
Yeah, that looks pretty good.
Loving relationship with his wife. Peter sees this and believes from that experience that it is possible to have both.
Otto is a successful scientist, like Norman, but unlike Norman, he also has his personal life together. He's happily married and in love with Rosie, a lovely redhead. Look at the colors of the clothes in this scene. Ock is wearing red, Peter is wearing blue, Spider-Man colors. They even look somewhat alike. Peter hopes to have what Ock has. He desperately wants a life like Otto and Rosie's. He wants that life with Mary Jane. We spend plenty of time seeing Peter's admiration and feeling the happiness of this couple so that this is all the more tragic. That's brutal, and it should be. Ock isn't a likable villain. His villainy isn't all that fun to watch. In fact, it's mostly horrible to watch.
Oh, this scene.
Well, that scene blew my mind. It was so cool to watch the first time.
And half of that's real.
Yeah, people were killed in the making of this film.
Not killed, I just meant the arms.
Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
There we go. The real villain of the movie is the arms, which I guess you could say represent Ock's hubris and ego. After all, it is Otto's ego that causes the accident that destroys his life.
You sure you can stabilize the fusion reaction?
This is my life's work. I certainly know the consequences of the slightest miscalculation.
The arms just amplify that and take away his conscience, his empathy, and his soul. They take away what makes him Otto and turn him into Doc Ock. Plus, he's just so visually cool. Raimi can use his love of old school horror movies and give us shots like this and just...
Nothing will stand in our way! Nothing!
Yes. Dr. Octopus back to the idea that this is the most human superhero film. In the final fight of the film, which lasts a mere 2 minutes and 40 seconds, the train scene in reality is the final big action piece. Anyways, after those 2 minutes and 40 seconds, Peter doesn't use his fists to beat the bad guy. He doesn't do the typical superhero beatdown we have come to expect. Peter instead uses his admiration of his fallen idol, and he uses his...
Is he always bashing on DC?
I don't know, because he likes DC, because he's made a lot of videos on Batman and stuff. He really doesn't like in Batman versus Superman that Batman kills people, because he doesn't think that Batman kills people in most iterations. So he didn't really like that, but he made a whole video talking about how Batman doesn't kill people. But he probably, I don't think he's a big fan of the DCEU. But
honestly, I've never really gotten into the DC movies. Here in the, I mean, I've watched them all. I just don't feel connected to like any of them.
Yeah, I like the Christopher Nolan trilogy, but that's not a part of the DCEU.
Right.
That's just like its own separate continuity.
Yeah, That's like I think the earliest one I watched was like the first Batman movie from like way back. Was that in '90s or early 2000s when that first one
There's
came out?
if you're talking about the one with Michael Keaton, the guy who plays Vulture in Spider-Man, that was from
Yeah, yeah,
1980.
yeah.
Like the first one was in the 1980s. Maybe the second one too. The
Yeah,
Batman
that's what I was
Forever
thinking of.
with Jim
Yeah, yeah,
Carrey
yeah.
and Batman and Robin are the
Mhm.
90s.
Yeah,
So
yeah, yeah. That's as old as I've watched, and I've just felt every DC film I've ever watched is overwhelmingly disappointing.
yeah, I would say everything
That's
except
just my
for
opinion.
I. So I used to not really care for Superman. I used to not. I thought he was very boring, and I really like Dragon Ball Z. I know you don't like anime. I grew up with Dragon Ball Z though. I watched that all the time as a kid, and so I always was like, well, Goku, who's the main character of Dragon Ball Z, he worked hard to get the
Mhm.
power he achieves throughout the series. Superman's just born with it, and I didn't like that. But I also watched this channel called Professor Geek, which uh, Matt
Oh yeah,
Wilkins
I know
talked
him.
about. Yeah, Professor Geek,
Yeah.
and he helped me to appreciate Superman a lot more because he's kind of like Christ for the DC universe, which I thought was a criticism. But in a sense, he's an aspirational hero, and um, what he's doing is he's basically Christ for all the other superhero characters. Like the Christians aspire to be, because we can never achieve that. We can never be perfect, but we strive to be like Christ. In the same sense, even though Batman's super prideful and never admit it, he aims to be like Superman, because Superman's the standard that he looks up to, because Superman's an aspirational hero, one that is relatable in some aspects, but he's not like Spider-Man where he makes mistakes and stuff. Like he is the good guy who will always be the good guy. Um, and so I
Sometime you're
re
gonna have to
hmm?
explain to me Batman versus Superman. I've never understood why they did that, even after watching the movie.
I mean that's gonna be hard because I barely understand that movie myself, but I don't
Okay,
really
well
care
we
for.
can talk about that later sometime. Yeah,
Yeah,
it was the worst. It made
yeah,
no sense
no, it
to
was
me at
really
least.
bad. No, it was so bad. Ryan Kendall's absolutely wrong about the DCEU. He has the worst take when it comes to the DC movies. Um, but that's just me.
Honestly,
Uh,
Ryan has a lot of bad takes,
yeah,
and if his entire expanded universe collection is behind him on that shelf, that's truly unimpressive compared to Matt Wilkins and Christopher Nelson
I don't think that's
and
his entire
Spencer
collection.
and those people. Yeah,
Yeah,
we've debated about that for a long time, but
yeah.
some people think that is his entire collection behind him, and other people think that's just his display. If that's his entire collection, I'm not trusting one of your EU opinions, sir. Is that a bit
Yeah,
too harsh?
maybe a little. I don't know. He's because he I don't, he's a lot like more mean on his channel because he's like acting like angry, whereas whenever he's on Matt's channel,
Yeah,
he's very chill. So I don't know. He's an okay guy.
yeah,
I just
yeah, for
don't
sure.
agree with his opinions
Yeah,
on the DCEU. Whereas I don't have any physical things I could show you. I just have my Kindle with a big giant
very nice.
playlist. I have a very big playlist of like 138 items of the Star Wars expanded universe. So it's growing. Uh,
Nice.
so, but that's all
Do
digital.
you
I don't have
plan
anything
on?
physical. Or actually, it's not true. I do
Do
have
you
some
plan
physical
on?
stuff. Hmm?
Yeah. Do you
Sorry, one
plan
more
on
time.
doing a physical collection, or are you
Yeah, when I
more
don't
the
live
digital guy?
when I don't live with my family anymore, and I'm working 8 hours, where I get way more money than I get now, and I have my own car, so I'm not spending money on Uber all the time to get to work, I will most certainly start buying physical copies. I just went for first round, so I can actually at least experience the stories. I went with the digital
Yeah,
version because
nice,
they're usually
nice.
cheaper than physical.
They are, and they're good quality too. Like Kindle
Yeah.
blew me away reading a comic on my Kindle Oasis for the first time, and then on my Kindle on my iPhone, it blew me away like how you could like click on a
Tap on a
panel.
specific side. Yeah.
Yeah, that was so
I
cool.
don't I
Like a
don't
really
do
cool
that.
feature.
I
I
don't do
don't
that
either, but it's fun
but
every now and
I like
then.
that that's an option. Yeah. That you can just
Yeah.
try that out. Yeah, especially when like there's certain like parts of a comic where there's stuff happening on in the background, and it's kind of hard to see from
Yeah,
that close-up perspective. So instead of
it
having to
is. Yeah,
use your eyes to like look really close on this page, you can just click on it and it'll zoom in on that part, and then you are able to
it's
see it in
very
much more
cool. Yeah.
detail. Yeah.
Now I just
So for sure.
realized we're supposed to be watching each other from talking about Star Wars.
Yeah, so we'll get back to that. We'll get back to the Doc Ock boy right here. That was also in the No Way Home trailer.
Yes, he was. Kind of put tears in my eyes to see him again.
Yeah.
Peter Parker. Brilliant but lazy.
Hello, Peter.
Or the fact that Peter
Like
uses the
he
word
said it the
for-
exact same way he said Peter right there. I just realized. Like he.
That's
said
why
it the
he's
same
totally
way.
talking to Toby. They totally edited that scene.
Yeah.
He's not looking. He's not talking to
No.
to Tom because he wouldn't recognize
talking to-
Tom.
Yeah.
He's if the Spider-Man
I
don't
think
show
what
up for a good
Tom is-
portion of that movie, they're gonna show up near the end, and that's gonna be the
Yeah.
scene where Toby shows up, and he's
I
gonna be like,
think
"What
that
are you
what
talking?"
Tom is seeing there is not Doc Ock. I think
Yeah.
what Tom is seeing where he is right there is maybe a goblin. Is what I'm
Yeah.
thinking. I'm
Yeah,
thinking,
because
like,
it's on the same
goblins up on a
bridge.
hover thing. Yeah,
It
yeah,
looks like
yeah.
it's on the same
exactly.
bridge where the bomb went off. So I think that's what's going
Right.
on.
So I think he's looking at like goblin on his glider.
Yeah, I'd be like, "What the fudge am I looking at?" But yeah, for sure.
Maybe he can say something like "Halloween's over, friend," or something like that.
Something I don't know. Or a good
I'm not
or
very much-
actually, I actually think it was Halloween because there was like a bunch of Halloween decorations up at the
There
school.
was.
So he
There
might
was,
actually be
yeah.
like, "Yo, a good Halloween costume," or something. I don't know. It'd be funny.
Yeah.
But anyway, he's getting choked out by his daddy.
Oh
Anyway,
wow. Okay.
I'm gonna keep going.
Yeah. Moving on from that comment.
That it was a gift used for the good of mankind. Privilege.
and May taught him in order to get through to Octavius.
It was my dream. Sometimes, to do what's right, we have to be steady. Give up the thing we want most, even our dreams.
That's so good. Peter uses his empathy to restore Ock's empathy. He doesn't punch him in the face. He essentially helps him get his shit together. And possibly the best thing about this whole ordeal, Spider-Man, the hero, doesn't directly stop New York from getting sucked into the sun. Ock, the villain, is the one who truly saves the day.
I will not die a monster.
This line has always stuck with me. It's tragic. We hear Otto scream as he's being pulled into the river along with his dream. Otto Octavius died believing he was a monster, when in reality, he was the hero who saved New York. Writing this makes me realize how depressing this all sounds. A superhero whose life is the definition of shit. A scientist who died saving the city from his dream. A love interest who is stuck in love with an unreliable Spider-Man. I mean, look at poor John Jameson. The man is the sweetest dude in the world who has a genuine love for Mary Jane, and look what happens to him. The poor bastard is split up. But what's crazy to me is that none of this seems angsty. None of this seems repetitively grim, and that's because of the...
This is a good place to pause the video, get something to eat, get something to drink, go smoke a joint, go follow me on Twitter because I'm about to analyze you.
Looks uncomfortable. It's kind of itchy.
It's a good little scene.
It's up in the crotch a little bit.
The filmmaking. Would you believe me if I told you that
Can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
So my mic is built into my headphones because I'm no longer in the same room.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Hmm?
I didn't know that about these headphones.
Oh.
They're the Beats, and they don't have like any mic, so the mic is built into the headphone itself.
Well, that's
Sorry,
kind of
back
cool.
to the,
No, also you're
yeah.
good.
Would you believe me if I told you the crew named each of the arms and had separate puppeteers for each arm? Probably not. Nowadays, they would just CG the entire thing. But not back then. Not Sam Raimi.
As the director of a picture, the crew is expecting you to know what you're doing and trusting in you to know what you're doing. To everyone is really doing the work. It's just that the finished product is more in the director's hands than the other artistic contributors. So the fact that the movie did well made me feel great in the sense that I thought that all the
Sorry, can you hear all the rustling I'm making?
A little bit, but it's fine.
that I had led them
Okay.
because the movie turned out.
I think that crew was the hardest working crew I've ever seen. And it was because Sam treated them well, treated them good. I think they would have walked across pop culture.
So much of the film was done practically, practical stunt work, insane sets like this, or this, or even part of the train. The set design is subtle for the most part, but that's what makes it so great. Each set feels crafted by hand and then lived in for 20 years. It adds an element of realism, of groundedness. Peter's apartment is one of my favorite sets ever. You could just look at frames like this and know everything you need to know about Peter. It's grimy, cramped, broken down, much like old Pete himself. This single shot of Peter's closet perfectly summarizes Spider-Man as a character, a man torn between responsibility and living a normal life, a suit and a Spider-Man suit. Raimi made the switch from cinematographer Don Burgess, who shot Spider-Man 1, as well as classics like Forrest Gump and Castaway, to cinematographer Bill Pope. Pope and Raimi had worked together on Darkman 14 years earlier. Now, my guy Bill Pope loves his harsh shadows, and he loves that golden hour look that we now associate with Spider-Man. Every face in Spider-Man 2 is lit like this, night, day, indoors, outdoors. Because of the way Raimi and Pope like to light the actors, our eyes are almost always drawn to the face. It creates a stylized, almost painting-like look to every frame. The scenes of two people talking are just as visually dynamic as the action scenes. This movie is gorgeous.
Yeah.
Spider-Man 2 isn't shot like a standard superhero film. It's shot like an old Hollywood classic mixed with Raimi's insanity. It really is gorgeous, but it's also gorgeous with a purpose. It's not meaningless style. It's not style over substance. The style adds to the substance. The camera in Spider-Man 2 is used to perfectly convey the emotions of the characters. It's used to put us in the heads of the characters. When Peter experiences vertigo, we experience vertigo. When Peter can't see correctly with his glasses, we can't see correctly. When Peter is longing for Mary Jane outside the theater, the camera becomes a longing gaze. MJ doesn't see Peter, literally and metaphorically, so he becomes lost in a crowd of people. When
This
Peter
guy's
and
pointed
MJ
out some stuff I never would have noticed. Goodness gracious. He's really analyzed this.
Yeah. Like all
Talk
the
about someone
camera.
with no life, am I right?
Yeah, I guess.
He sat
Yeah,
for
I mean,
hours in his room analyzing this footage.
well, I mean, he's watched it like many, many times because he's grown up with it. So he's just seen something new every time he watches it. So that's why. Also, if you're gonna make a video about, like an analysis of the movie, you want to bring up everything you can. So,
Yeah.
but for sure, yeah, the camera work and stuff, and like how their faces look, super interesting. I never knew that before watching this video, or I never really paid attention. But definitely, yeah, it's there.
Mm-hmm.
Shot, they are apart. As they move closer to each other and start connecting, the camera moves closer. The shot reverse shot keeps getting closer to their faces.
Oh boy, yeah.
When Mary Jane touches Peter's face, the shot is now an almost extreme close-up. When they can't connect, Raimi slowly moves back from Peter, and then we go back to a wide as Mary Jane tells Peter,
I'm seeing somebody now.
that's visual storytelling. The camera is telling a story by itself. Mute the movie and you can still get a pretty good idea of the emotions the characters are feeling.
That's the same thing that not to get too sidetracked, so I'm only going to mention this one thing and then continue. It's the same thing that George Lucas tried to do with all of his movies, 1 through 6. He tried to make it so even if you didn't have the visuals and the sound effects going on, you could still understand the movie. That's one of the things he tried really hard to do with all of his shots. So, one amazing thing about George Lucas that people don't give him credit for. Anyway, I will continue now.
The tone balancing in Spider-Man 2 is just ridiculous.
Oh, you stole that guy's pizza.
Helps maintain the illusion.
I'm in
charge here! It's my money!
I truly believe Sam Raimi is unmatched when it comes to balancing his tones while also maintaining some form of tonal consistency. Like I mentioned earlier, Raimi can go from the most heartbreaking scene in the film to this hilarious goof fest and still have the audience feel every emotion he wants you to feel. He can go from J. Jonah Jameson laughing at Peter for what feels like 15 minutes to this tragic villain monologue.
Rosie's dead. My dream is dead.
I don't know how he does it. I really don't. Maybe it's how well paced his films are. No scene overstays its welcome and no moment feels too short. He lingers on faces when he needs to hold an emotion, and he throws a car through a window before kids can get bored of the romance.
Oh boy. Next ad sponsor. Oh god. Ah! Oh, I can't skip it. Oh no. No. Ah, that's the same thing. Oh no. Oh no. I think Quillen has left the building. Oopsie doopsie. Well, what's going on? I'm gonna stop sharing screen. Here I am, alone again. Hello, whoever you are, viewers. How are you doing? I'm Matt Wilkins. I'm going through the Star Wars Expanded Universe in chronological order, as best I know how. That's what I do. I hate Dawn of the Jedi. Blah. Hate Tales of Jedi. Blah. Not Tales of Jedi. Oops, I meant Tales Comics. Blah. That's Matt Wilkins. What else does he hate? I hate iJedi. Blah. Hates, what else does he dislike? Oh, Republic Commando. Clones having sex. Blah, blah, blah. That's Matt Wilkins for you. That's what he does. That's him in a nutshell. But, yeah. I'm loving what High Top Films has to say. Definitely worth a subscription. Says some great things about Spider-Man. Don't agree with all of his takes, but I agree with this one. Absolutely. I don't know if Quinlan's ready. I'm going to add him back.
I'm here. Hello?
You're here? Hi.
Yeah, can you hear me?
I can indeed. Something happened
Can you hear
again?
me?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so my cousin texted me. He's venting about how his social life is collapsing. Apparently he got like broken up with or rejected or something along those lines.
Not
So
fun.
like when his text came in, it popped me right out of the thing.
Oh, fair enough. Yeah, no, for sure. Having breakups suck. That's for sure. Wow.
Rest in peace. Shouldn't say his name, should I?
No, probably not. Because it's the
Rest
internet.
in peace, unnamed
Cousin of yours.
unnamed 14, 15-year-old. Can't remember how old he is. Somewhere in there.
Oh, I'm sure he'll be fine. That's for sure. We all move past it eventually. I'm still moving past mine, but eventually it will go away. Anyway, we got...
That's why you need to come to Magneto Alex's channel. The best therapy around. Come here and vent about your broken relationships.
Or think about Spider-Man and ignore your problems. Do that too.
Yes, your problems in general.
Yeah. Well, we got Madman, so let's see what happens. Yeah, Madman. We got a car. We got freaking Spider-Man. His legs spread wide. His car's about to hit his leg and break it forever. But he's alright.
Well, that was great. That would have been great out of context, huh?
Yeah. Alright, here we go.
I do not see the screen. Are you sharing it still?
Oh, that is so true. I had it turned off because you were away for a bit.
I died again.
Yeah. That is so true. Well, let me do this. Screen is now shared. Oh, whoa, here we go. Sorry about that. Now, so here's Spider-Man. He's about to die by a car. Mary Jane, Madman.
The action scenes. Oh boy, the action scenes. The train scene has never been topped, and I'm not just talking about the action.
Oh, that was so good.
We need to give
Yeah.
more praise to what happens before they even get to the train. We go from this iconic moment that's just a comic book come to life. I want Spider-Man! To this powerful swing. That then turns out to be a reflection in Doc Ock's glasses, to this clock tower bit that blends CG and practical effects perfectly, especially considering it was 2004.
I was 3 years old.
Raimi does this thing that I love. He always ends a very CG shot on a real element. Take a look at this bit. CG Spider-Man is swinging in a way that a real person could not, and then CG Spider-Man is falling in a way a real person could not. But before a film bro video essay bitch like me can say, that looks so fit, Raimi cuts back to Toby in costume. He does this wherever and whenever he can. By doing this, Raimi makes violence feel violent. Pretty much none of the action scenes across the entire trilogy.
I think that's one of my biggest issues with MCU in general. A lot of things feel weightless with the fighting. A lot of it just doesn't feel very real. So that's one thing I've never appreciated. And I really noticed that in some of like the Spider-Man scenes of the newer movies. Like even with the fight with Vulture, just nothing really felt like a impactful hit. It's like, you know.
Now
with
with Shang-Chi that's coming out, that for some reason Magneto's not going to go see, so I'll have to put off a stream talking about it for 45 days. But anyway, that one's supposed to not be leaning in on CGI to feel real. With
apparently
not a lot of
the last
splices
act
between
does. Apparently the last act
but
does
the
heavily.
fighting scenes throughout, I've heard, are a lot of just pan shots of fighting. So not a lot of like cutscene or cutting camera angles super quickly to make an effect. Like in Black Widow, Yelena Belova, there was like 7 cut angles of her like slicing the legs out from under one guy.
Yeah. I have issues with Black Widow too, though. There's a 4-hour video we could watch sometime on Black Widow that perfectly explains the issues with Black Widow. By a
I
game
actually liked Black Widow, except for Taskmaster and the main villain. Other than that, I thought it was perfectly fine.
Then we're gonna watch Mahler's 4-hour video on Black Widow someday, and we'll see if you still hold that.
Bump it down from. Let's see if Black Widow will still hold my 8th spot after I watch that.
Yeah, I don't know if you'll
be.
I don't know if you'll be able to. I don't know if you'll be able to because it goes very in depth and is 4 hours long. So anything that could be criticized is criticized in extreme detail. So definitely
then
not
we'd have
just
to watch a good opinion, balance it out.
Yeah, that's fair. I don't know if there's any good opinions that are 4 hours long though on the movie. So, but that's fair. Yeah, for sure. Anyway, back to this. But yeah, Shang-Chi I know nothing about, so why would I waste my hard-earned money in theaters to watch it when I could just wait for it to come out on Disney Plus and not spend a dime?
Why wouldn't you? Theaters are a much better experience, and also then I could stream about it earlier.
Because then I have to pay for it.
That's
Yeah.
a lot of pros. Your hard-earned money versus being on my stream like a day after it releases. I don't know.
That's so true.
You know?
I mean, you could do a stream without me, technically, and then have me come in
I
a different time.
I could.
Or
Maybe I'll
or at least do a
replace you
video
with,
on it. Your brother?
Well, I could do a video. I was gonna say replace you with Stig. I mean,
I mean,
cut right.
You might have a better time with Stig than with me. I mean, geez, he's pretty amazing. He's freaking Obi-Wan Kenobi. He always says hello there.
Yeah.
Whenever he joins
how
the
you can know that?
Yeah.
His profile picture is Obi-Wan, and nobody lies about their profile pictures. Like you're Matt Wilkins.
I am Matt Wilkins. I am actually him. I just lost the southern accent. That's what I sound like without the southern accent. So sorry to burst your bubble. I'm not actually brown. That's just a green screen. So and I was
Your
commenting on my
hair's
own.
a bit longer too.
Yeah, for sure, a bit longer. All right, back to the Spider Boy.
Feel like two weightless computer-generated characters flailing around. He makes falling down feel impactful. Stuntmen are crazy.
My
Oh my
back,
god,
my back.
dude, that's insane. That was all a stuntman with a wire on his leg. That's insane. You see how far that
Goodness
drop
gracious.
was? Hold on, go back a second. Look at this.
Stuntmen are the real heroes.
Look at this. That's a real freaking building.
Holy,
Look how high up he
I would
is.
hate that.
He's falling down all of that. And they're just filming it. That's crazy.
Anyways, they then fall on the train, and then they fight on the train, and then the typical hero versus villain fight turns into Peter having to catch these people and then having to catch the fucking train.
That was such a great scene when his suit's tearing and he's stopping the train.
Yeah.
Peter can't stop the train. We don't want these people to go
I
flying.
thought that was a cool thing they did with Homecoming, how they kind of replicated that a bit,
With
paid a little bit of
the shit.
homage to it. Yeah, I thought that was neat how they kind of a little nod there for movie fans.
Yeah, for sure.
Filmed it is or how well it balances tone. This is iconic because we care. New York City was so well established in Spider-Man 1, and throughout this film, we feel these stakes. These aren't just random extras that the hero has to save. They all feel like characters, like neighbors, like people we know, people Peter knows. They are Peter's fellow New Yorkers. We feel the pure stress of how Peter is feeling in this impossible situation. So when Peter puts his entire being into stopping this train, when he succeeds while reaching his physical breaking point, we are ready for this moment. And here we go. One of my favorite lines in superhero cinema.
Just a kid. No older than my son.
Mm-hmm.
Peter has been shit on this entire movie because of his life as Spider-Man. But now these people on the train are seeing both sides of Peter. He's unmasked. He's vulnerable. What if one of these schmucks tells the world that Spider-Man is this dorky college kid? What if they decide to screw him over like most people have? What if...
It's all right.
But these people on the train, the community Peter just saved, they are kind. They help remind Peter that the world can be kind. And he needs that right now. Just like how they need him, how we needed him.
These are tough and scary times, and during these times, we always look to stories of heroes to show us the way and to give us hope. And maybe that has something to do with why the audience right now is so taken with Spider-Man.
The best superhero film. There are plenty of great superhero flicks. I've made videos about plenty of great superhero flicks, but not any of them, not a single one of them understands the essence of heroism like Spider-Man 2. Spider-Man 2 takes our beloved hero from the first film and shoves everything against him until he breaks. But it's not about the fall. It's not about a hero reaching his breaking point. Spider-Man 2 is about a hero finding the will to persevere through everything, through his fall, through that breaking point, and choosing to get back up. After all this horrendous shit happens to Peter, after he sees and we see that his life would and could be better if he just hung up the mask, he still chooses to be Spider-Man.
That scene takes place just when Peter Parker has realized that as much as he has given away his outfit, has chased after Mary Jane Watson and promised her that he'd be there, that really he never had a right to make that promise.
Now, can you still hear me?
Yes, I can.
Alright, my cousin is still texting me. Yeah, I had to respond to him. He was like, why don't you care what I'm saying? And stuff like that. And then I had to explain to him. And so I wasn't sure if I was still on or not.
Oh,
So,
no, you're okay.
sorry.
But I get it. If you gotta leave for a second, it's okay. I'll bring you back. Just let me know.
It's fine. I'm good now.
Okie dokie.
That's
A really gift
this is a good video.
He still chooses to be Spider-Man after his idol dies. He still chooses to be Spider-Man even though his only friend will hate him. He still chooses to be Spider-Man fully believing that he will never be able to live a happy life with the girl he loves.
Always be Spider-Man. You and I can never be.
This is what being a hero is all about. Sacrifice. He sacrifices his happiness to protect Mary Jane and to protect his city. And you can see it, you can feel it, you can feel the heartbreak through his attempt at comforting Mary Jane.
Oh, yes, you can. There were some really tough moments in Spider-Man 2. It was not a happy movie. It was a hard movie to watch.
She's much better off with a guy like John Jameson who has the ability to be there for her. Mary Jane looks up at Peter and smiles at him, both heartbroken, both trying to comfort each other and do what's right for each other, both now having grown from young adults who couldn't communicate in the backyard, adults who now have empathy for each other. And then after all these tears and all this heartbreak, Peter still manages
I like
to
your
get
ringtone thing that I hear.
New York City,
Oh.
to be the man his uncle wished for him to be. Peter still manages to get back up and be Spider-Man. That gets me every time. Every goddamn time. You could end the film right here. Peter has learned his lesson, completed his arc, and accepted his destiny, his almost sad destiny, as the savior of New York City. But for once, for the first time in his life, Peter Parker gets the happy ending. And of course, Peter is such a great guy that he tries to reject his own happy ending.
You shouldn't be here.
But Mary Jane won't let him. Not this time. She can decide who she wants to be and who she wants to spend her life with.
So here I am, standing in your doorway. I've always been standing in your doorway.
We have watched our hero sacrifice and suffer for the last 2 hours. And now, he finally gets to be happy.
Isn't it about time somebody saved your life?
Spider-Man 2 is my favorite film because of lines like these. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite film because it uses every bit of its insane budget to engage, thrill, and challenge the audience and challenge the character of Peter Parker. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite film because it's a $200 million studio film that feels 100% Sam Raimi, that feels so personal. Spider-Man 2 is my favorite film first and foremost because it manages to be one of the most human films I have ever seen. If we take away all the cinematic flair, all the insane craftsmanship on display, if we take away all that, what we are left with is an inspirational story about a young man struggling to be a Spider-Man, struggling to be a hero. Spider-Man 2 taught 5-year-old me what it meant to be a hero. It showed me that even though life can and will suck, oh boy, does it sometimes
Every time
suck.
it shows 5-year-old him, he's in his Batman costume. Is that a joke of some kind? That he wishes
I know
looking at his favorite Spider-Man.
He's a big fan of Batman too, so I don't know. Maybe he just didn't have a picture of him dressed up as Spider-Man. But yeah, those are like his two favorite.
But it's so funny every time it goes back to show him, and then it's like, oh, that's not Spider-Man. That's a completely different franchise.
Yeah, that's fair. And he's about to dance here. I don't know what's going on with that.
To keep moving forward, and most importantly, keep doing the right thing. And that's the true power of cinema. If you can connect with something, if it can teach you something, if it can change your life. Spider-Man 2 changed my life. It inspired me to be a filmmaker. It inspired me to do this. Every time I revisit my childhood favorite, it not only gets better, it makes me want to be better, a better filmmaker, and above all else, Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 2 makes me want to be a better human being.
Well, before we get to
very cool.
Before we get to the third one, I have changed my mind. For today, we are not going to watch the third one. We are going to watch the Amazing Spider-Man one. And then, some other time, we'll finish it
Alright.
off with Sam Raimi's Spider-Man 3. So that's what we'll do there. Just to give you some love, since that's your favorite.
Yeah, thank you.
Alright, let's go get it up. I gotta get it first. The title of the video.
I just remembered.
Yeah.
Should I? Oh.
Hmm?
Yeah, I saw the
Oh,
title. Isn't it the sort of Amazing Spider-Man? Or
Mark
something like
Webb's
that?
kinda Amazing
kind of-
Spider-Man. Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I thought. I saw that on my recommended earlier.
Yeah, it says High Top Films said he was done making the Spider-Man videos, but after Sam Raimi's Spider-Man series, he then realized screw that and decided to do the Amazing Spider-Man, and he realized that nobody
when you get a million,
yeah.
Yeah.
He said
when you get a million views on a YouTube video, you milk it.
Yeah.
You go back to it over and over again.
Hmm. Yeah, and he said that
should I
he'd
send
seen
the
that.
link to my brother or just not? What do you think I should do? 'Cause he's been texting me and bugging me about that.
Go ahead and send him the link. That's fine. Just the same one that I sent you. Just copy and paste. And then, yeah, I mean, it's not.
Set up.
I mean, yeah, go ahead and send him the link that I sent you. Hello? Hello?
Can you hear me? You cut out.
I can hear you. I can hear you.
Okay. Okay.
Alright.
Sorry,
You can
what
go
did you say?
ahead.
I missed. Oh, okay.
I said you can go ahead and just send the link I sent you.
Okay.
It's just
Alright.
not the Spider-Man he cares about, so I don't know if you'll enjoy it.
Fade too fast? Try Febreze.
What is that? Febreze.
Oh, that's nothing.
Magneto. Tell me a bit about Febreze, Magneto. Since you were paid for it.
It makes your house smell good.
How good does it make it smell, Alex?
Like heaven on earth.
What sense can you get, Alex?
You can get Matt Wilkins' musky hair smell. You can get Stig's bathroom after he gets out of the shower smell. You can get OG's. I don't want to be racist, but because like I know she's done like some videos with like the Native American thing or whatever she's doing with like the smoke and stuff. And I used to go to powwows, so that's what it reminded me of. You get the powwow smell, and you get my farts.
Well, I'm definitely gonna go for Stig's bathroom smell. That
Oh,
just
you ready for that?
That sounds like a super hot smell. I will say that.
Oh, there we go.
Talking about farts.
Yep.
Sup?
Sup? How you
I wonder if
doing?
he's showing his face or not.
Good, how are you? Hi, Alex. It's nice to meet you.
Nice to meet you too.
I'm Quinlan's younger brother.
Yeah, I know you told me, but yeah, I'm going to
Mind
be
your
putting.
manners.
I'm sure your brother has manners. It's all good.
Yeah,
I trust him.
that trust is misplaced.
I'm going to be showing a video about, since the new Spider-Man trailer came out, about Spider-Man, about the Amazing Spider-Man, your brother's favorite. So that's what's up.
Do you know that that's my favorite? Do you know that that's my favorite of the 3 Spider-Men? Yeah.
Yeah, I know that. Because, like, how would I not know that?
Fair enough. Well, basically, if something interests you or you have something to say, you can mention it while the video is playing. And after this, I'm probably heading out. So yeah, 2011.
Hey,
I was
out, huh?
later on, not right this second. But yeah, July 22, 2011, I was 10, and Quinlan was like 7 or 6.
Yeah.
Oh.
Somewhere in there.
All right.
This is
I think I was 6.
incredible day of my life, and
Yeah.
I've always
Oh, there's Andrew Garfield.
wanted to be at Comic-Con in Hall H as Spider-Man. So thanks for having me.
After Spider-Man 3, we talked to Sony about doing a Spider-Man 4 with Toby.
I was originally hired by Spider-Man 4 and was really sort of excited to come in and do that because I wanted to. No one had sort of finished out a superhero franchise before, sort of on purpose.
Sam and Toby and us were starting to question the validity of the next one.
I think, that ultimately there was a feeling that it was time to reinvent. People say, oh, why would you do it again? But the comic book reinvented itself many, many times. There are many iterations of Peter Parker.
The shoes that had to be filled were enormous. So with that said, we did what we do at studios and we thought about who our favorite filmmakers were.
I never thought I would do a comic book movie, but I think when I was older, it actually became more appealing to me. You start to understand there's some really universal themes that are at work in a lot of these things, and I think I started to appreciate the sophistication of the Spider-Man story in particular.
I didn't think I had a hope in hell of being cast, like genuinely. So when I first heard about it, I kind of thought, well, I hope they do a good job. That was my only real thought. Because I love the first 3 films. I had trepidation about the idea of me stepping into the responsibility of it, and I didn't want to ruin the fantasy of it, and I didn't want to take him down from the pedestal that I'd put him on, talking about the fictional character of Spider-Man.
I do feel an obligation to the audience to make something worthy of the Spider-Man mantle. And it's hard, but such is life.
Hey, hope everyone's staying safe. So I know what you're thinking. Did you already make a video on this movie? Did you not say that after Raimi Part 3, you were done with the Spider-Man videos? Yes, I did. But as I've said before, I'm a fucking liar. Plus, that first video was mainly about this very underrated bridge scene, but that video was also in no way a deep dive, a Raimi-style deep dive, which the Amazing Spider-Man franchise for sure deserves. These movies not only have extensive, insane...
That's quite the kind of liar, isn't it?
The what?
That's quite the kind of liar with the word he used to describe himself.
Oh yeah, he's he talks like that in all the videos I've watched of him so far.
Great dude, sounds fun to hang out with.
Yeah, he does.
And whack behind the scenes footage, interviews, and deleted scenes, but they also are these weird middle children. They have
Oh, and your brother died. What the heck? You alive? Hello?
Hey, my cousin's venting to me again, and it glitched me out again. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Alright,
What was that
so you back in
sound,
it?
dude? Holy cow.
What?
Yeah, I'm back in.
Okay, cool.
My brother made a very odd sound. Yeah.
You mean this? Was that
Maybe. Yeah, probably.
For the love of sports, when I got the video going, if you could just turn off the camera, I think that would, for the video while it's playing. So that way it's more focused on the video,
Wait, why do I have Quinlan's logo? Hello.
Why do you have my logo?
I don't know.
Now you're both Quinlan.
I mean, double the marketing, right? Double the marketing. See, not only 1 advertisement for my channel, but 2. Go subscribe now.
There you go. Alrighty. Back to the video.
Extraordinarily tough act to follow. They lost, and then they gave up and let the young kid play ball with the mouse. But that doesn't mean they should be entirely disregarded, shunned, hated, loathed, spat on, thrown down the clock tower with Gwen, broken like her spine, and tossed out along with Andrew Garfield.
No.
That was so sad.
The Amazing Spider-Man 2 have some very special, unique, and genuinely thoughtful and heartfelt things going for them that don't get discussed nearly enough. So let's begin.
Ready or not, here I come.
That's a pretty meta line, right? That pretty aptly sums up the challenges Sony had when making this movie. Spider-Man 3 came out in 2007 and was the highest grossing Spider-Man flick and one of the highest grossing movies of all time. 5 years later, bang, it's 2012. The freaking Avengers just came out on May 4th and changed the superhero movie landscape. The Dark Knight Rises, the sequel to The Dark Knight, comes out July 20th. And this Spider-Man movie that nobody really wanted and nobody saw coming.
Huh?
I'm sorry, I'm gonna go. I just wanted to drop in and say hi.
Oh. Alrighty.
But yeah, it's good to talk to you, Alex. Maybe we can do a stream like another day or something.
Maybe. Well, have a good rest of your day. Huh?
Thank you. You too.
Sorry that Andrew Garfield bores you so much. Shouldn't. He's the best.
Well, he's not, but
Yeah, I started.
we all have a different
Got
opinion.
a Toby, a Tom, and an Andrew fan right here in the server.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Certain
You
stream.
like Toby?
I like Toby. Yes, he's my favorite. I like all of them.
Okay, well, I think you will appreciate the seeing.
Jeez, you're revealing like all of the room you're in at the moment. Oh wow.
Yeah. That scene is, the dance is wonderful. Epic dance, for sure. Yeah. Alright, well, have a good rest of your day.
Thanks, you too. I'm sorry. I'll see you later.
That was truly a visual feast.
On my channel sometime.
It's alright. Alrighty.
See ya.
See ya.
Bye.
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 Alright. There we go. Alrighty. Now we can kill him because he left.
Well, that was odd.
Yeah.
That was very odd.
He saw 2 seconds of Andrew and decided to leave.
Yeah, I guess Andrew made him sick or something. I don't know. But I find it kind of odd that, like, he wouldn't stop texting me, send me a link so I can join. And I keep texting back, it's not my channel. And then he just came on for 30 seconds, saw Andrew Garfield's face, and was like, nope,
I'm out.
done with this.
I'm gone. Yeah. Well, I guess that's just the effect that Andrew has on people.
No. You've crossed the line there, mister. Andrew Garfield is the Spider-Man. And if I see him again, I would just, like, be so happy to see him suit up again. I would not kiss him.
Because you got a girlfriend. You don't want to cheat.
Yeah. And
you're like, if I wasn't with my girlfriend. You know.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Maybe a kiss on the forehead. This is getting weirder and weirder.
Maybe a kiss on the feet, like Jesus got from the prostitute.
Exactly.
You know? Yeah.
The Savior
Reverence.
has returned to the Spider-Man movie.
Yeah. He's certainly a Spider-Man.
Again,
He's not
the Spider-Man. And you're saying Toby is?
Yeah. Yeah.
Toby may have the worst dance moves of them all. He might be the worst dancing Spider-Man, but I'm not sure that he's the Spider-Man in every other sense of the word. Andrew Garfield is clearly the Spider-Man.
Maybe. We'll have to agree to disagree there. But I'm going to continue playing Andrew Garfield. Yeah.
This soon comes out July.
I'd better be careful or you'll turn on the Spider-Man 3 video again.
Yeah, or I'll just, I also have the power to just do that.
Wait, I can unmute myself. Andrew. Andrew.
No, no.
I love doing this. Let's pretend you're Mark Webb.
Neutral.
After directing music videos for a while, you make your first feature film, 500 Days of Summer, a small-scale, small-budget film about falling in love and the idealization that goes hand in hand with that love. It's smart, it's full of heart, but the key thing here is that it's vulnerable, human, real, honest. It connects with young, angsty, quirky fucks like myself and my buddy, the lone chemist. Check out our video. It instantly became a classic romantic comedy that subverts the expectation that
Angsty
comes
young fricks like myself.
Yeah.
He has such a way with words.
$7.5 million to make and made $60.7 million. Damn, that's great news. Now you can do your second film, maybe another personal and human indie drama. Enter Sony. They come to you and you're like, what? They say they want you to reboot Spider-Man 5 years after the first mega successful, mega iconic franchise ended. You're like, why? They say they loved your first movie. It was vulnerable, human, real, honest, and appealed to young people. They claim they want this new Spider-Man to be vulnerable, human, real, honest, and appeal to young people. Oh, and be kind of gritty like The Dark Knight. Audiences love that
It
shit.
did appeal
You
to
said
me in those like 6 or
you
7.
receive a budget of 230 million US dollars. That is 223 million US dollars more than your last film's, your first film's budget. That's
insane. Think about making that jump. Think about how much of a shit show that could have been. But lucky for us, Mark Webb is an extremely talented director who had the balls to take on this massive undertaking. Critics didn't adore Spider-Man 3, but the world shilled for Spider-Man 1 and 2. To a lot of people, Tobey Maguire is Spider-Man.
Amen.
So, what do you
No.
Hold
up a second.
Look.
Says
It says a lot of people. A lot of people say Andrew too. A lot of people say Andrew too. But a lot of
But
people say Toby as well.
And I do see a lot of people say Tom, but those are mostly just like kids.
Yeah, but a lot of people say Toby because he had 2 good films, whereas Andrew had 1.5.
Well, he's gonna
Which
have
isn't his
another
fault.
half. You'll have another half in No Way Home. You'll steal the
And
show.
then-
I'm telling you. You'll steal Tom's thunder in that movie. I'm sure you will. And Tobey
I'm sure
Maguire
Toby.
will probably
They
die.
both would.
No,
Maybe.
Toby will die. Leave all the Toby fans with a bitter taste in their mouth.
Don't become a Noah now.
It would break my heart, obviously.
You're
but-
becoming the very thing you swore to destroy.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm not saying Toby's bad, obviously. I'm saying he's not the Spider-Man. He's a good
But you
Spider-Man.
also grew up with him, so you're biased. Yeah.
Well, yeah.
I mean, I completely acknowledge that Andrew's great, but his second film is objectively not that good. Whereas Toby had, if we're talking about just like overall film quality, he had 2 good films, one that kind of flopped, but is still relatively good, just not in comparison to his other films. And then Andrew had the one, and then the second one was good for like the first half. I don't know what happened in that second half of the film. And then we have Toby, who's had so far 2, if we're counting Civil War, 3 decent films. I wouldn't say any of those are really spectacular. No pun intended. But just in terms of movie quality wise, I'm not saying that any of them were bad Spider-Men.
Yeah. For me, it's a toss-up between Toby and Tom for second place. I like all the Spider-Men, and Toby and Tom are both obviously good. I can't determine really a real winner between the 2 of them.
I think it's easily. I think it's easily Toby. If you're gonna go with Andrew forever as number 1, I think it easily goes to Toby for number 2 because, to be in all honesty, Tom doesn't very much act like a competent Spider-Man because he always ends up getting helped by somebody. Of Homecoming, we had Iron Man. The second movie, he's kind of on his own, but he's still I don't know, kind of acting childish and easily giving the information to Mysterio, who he barely knows that well. He's done a couple missions with him, and now with this new one from the trailer alone, Toby and Andrew would not have talked during Doctor Strange's spell when he tells them to stop because you're going to mess up the entire universe. Tom, obviously,
It's
based
a
on the other
different
two movies I've seen,
generation.
well, based on the other two movies I've seen, it's perfectly in character for Tom to do so. But Andrew and Toby would not have done that because they're more mature than Tom is. And I think that's a fair assessment that Tom just hasn't grown up in any of these films that much.
I
If we're
hope
also
we
talking
can
about
eventually see him. I think
Yeah.
we saw him grow up a little when he watched his hero die in
Yeah.
front of him. I think
Yeah.
he grew. I think he aged like 5 or 6 years there. But he's still relatively
maybe.
immature. I hope we can see him continue to grow up and develop a bit more. Hopefully
I mean, I don't
more
mind the
movies
jokes
with
and
him
stuff. It's
kind of
just like
developing his character.
He's
Yeah,
just overall, he's just
my favorite.
doesn't seem like an
My
adult.
my
I mean, he's still a
yeah, like
teenager, but there's nothing.
isn't
I
it?
just don't
Yeah,
feel like he could. These two Spider-Man live in a universe where there are no other heroes. It's only them. But I don't feel like Tom would be able to save the world entirely by himself in a movie. And I don't
yeah.
like that I feel that way about him.
Yeah, I can see that. I can see that point. Another thing that highlights is like immaturity is in like kidness. He's not grown up at all. Like he does stupid things. Like all
Yeah.
he's concerned about is just getting the girl. He rents an adult movie when he's off to fight Captain America. Like
Yeah.
really stupid stuff. He's not
Yeah.
that smart.
Yeah, which you would think Peter Parker's supposed to be, but he doesn't act that smart.
Yeah, yeah.
And
I
I
can
think
see
it's
your
one of my
point
biggest
for sure.
complaints. Yeah, I think that's one of my biggest
Yeah.
complaints about him. I still like him. I just compared to Toby and Andrew, and I don't even particularly like the second Andrew film. I like the first one just fine. But even with 3 decent Spider-Man movies, none of them being particularly bad by Tom, I still think Andrew's the better of the two. And then obviously we're going to
Yeah.
disagree on the number 1, but I can absolutely concede that Andrew's better than Tom for sure. Toby and him, more debatable in my opinion, but easily, without a doubt, he's better than Tom in my opinion.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I'm going to continue. This looks weird. I think he's falling into a building right there. I don't know what this is, what this scene
Looks
is.
like Jumanji, doesn't it?
A little bit. He literally looks like he's sinking. But I'm going to continue with the video now. Oh yeah, straight up did.
Opposite of Raimi.
Oh yeah, yeah.
How much I adore the original trilogy. To me, the Sam Raimi films are almost perfect adaptations of those early Lee Ditko, Lee Romita comics. They are passion-filled, ridiculous but sincere, over-the-top superhero dramas with a lot of heart, a lot of super stylized action, and a tangible love of this iconic character. Nobody could do what Raimi did better than he did it. So The Amazing Spider-Man tries to set itself apart from those movies in every way it can. In tone, this first movie isn't campy. It avoids camp. For better or worse, it tries to be realistic. This was a trend started by Nolan's grounded take on Batman. How realistic can you get when you have a giant lizard in a lab coat? Not very. Now, the idea of completely grounding fictional characters that can fly is absurd, but The Amazing Spider-Man tries and mostly succeeds at being emotionally realistic, emotionally believable. Why is this guy Spider-Man? Why is this guy going to become the Lizard? What deep-rooted issues and trauma cause these characters to end up where they do? Let's put these fantastical characters in a real world and play it completely straight. Unlike the Raimi films, the lighting isn't that dramatic. There's no extreme montages, no pizza time, no zany camera moves or personal visual flares. And that's not me saying The Amazing Spider-Man isn't well shot, because it is. Minus the desaturated, dim look that I so very, very much dislike, the framing and composition is on point, but it's not nearly as visually or personally stylized as the previous take on the webhead. But I think that's kind of the point. Look at 500 Days of Summer, or even the sequel to this movie. Both are filled with style, loaded with color, and overflowing with pop. If Webb wanted to bring that to his first Spider-Man flick, he could have. And frankly, I wish he would have. But what Webb wanted to do was take these icons and put them in our world. Not the world of the comics, cartoons, or any kind of heightened reality. He wants us to believe that George Stacy could be our police captain. He wants us to believe that Oscorp could be the tallest building in our city. And he wants us to believe, really believe, that this awkward, punky kid with attitude could live down the block from us. A kid named...
Frick.
Getting that perfect slice.
Alex, tell us a little bit about Pursuit.
Jersey Mike's makes sandwiches.
You're right. Are they?
And they're good.
How much better than Subway are they? How much better?
Not better.
Yeah, I agree.
I'm a bad sponsor. I don't think they're that good. Though the world may mock Peter Parker, the timid teenager, it will soon marvel at the awesome might of Spider-Man. And
introducing Spider-Man.
I also don't know who these three guys are, but they're chilling in the background.
Line spoken by Peter Parker on page 8 of Amazing Fantasy 15. They're the only ones who've ever been kind to me. I'll see to it that they're always happy, but the rest of the world can go hang for all I care. A lot of people don't like this douchebag skateboarder take on Peter Parker, and I would, surprisingly,
I loved
disagree.
it. I actually loved it.
He disagrees with people who dislike it like me, so he's on your side there. All right, so we'll continue.
He's a good man.
All right, even though he still thinks that Toby's the best, but you know.
Oh wait,
since he there you go.
I'm feeling like an angsty teenager.
All over again. He defends your Spider-Man. You're like, oh yeah, I love him, and then I remind you that Toby's still his favorite, and you say, I hate him. There's no winning.
Yeah. No winning here.
Best modern adaptation of a teenager we've got it. He's in no way my favorite live-action take on the character, but he is, in my opinion, of course, the most realistic. Toby was never supposed to be a modern.
Hear that?
An awkward young.
Yeah, well, let him talk. Let him talk. Let him talk. Let him talk.
All right.
I'm fine with him being more realistic. That's fine. Spider-Man was never supposed to be realistic necessarily, but I'll continue.
My favorite live-action take on the character, but he is, in my opinion, of course, the most realistic. Toby was never supposed to be a modern teenager. He was supposed to be an awkward young man with a good heart. Tom is forced to play a 12-year-old, 16-year-old with a good heart.
I'm really strong and I'm sticky.
But this guy right here, he nails that chip on the shoulder vibe that Ditko-era Peter originally had. He nails that isolated, probably self-isolated, mysterious kid who sits in the back of the classroom listening to indie rock vibe. The kid that nobody really cares to turn around and look at vibe. He nails that kind of assholey wise guy thing that most teenagers have. I don't know about you, but I was a fucking asshat when I was 17. Teenagers are pricks. They are neurotic, indecisive, horny in every emotion they feel, good or bad. Feels like
they're horny in every emotion they feel.
Every emotion is just downright apocalyptic.
Teenagers in a nutshell.
And universe is just to explore those apocalyptic emotions in an interesting and fun way.
And I get that with this Peter Parker, Mark Webb's Peter Parker.
I view Peter Parker as not as necessarily as a nerd per se, because I think nerd in the current world means a different thing, but the perennial type is the outsider, and that I think is what made it appealing to me. And we give this kid an edge that any kid who loses his parents at that young of an age, there's an enormous emotional consequence that will color his life from that point forth.
Now, I'm not a fan of the super secret spy parents. I hated it in the comics, and it just doesn't.
Yeah. Just because the comics does it doesn't make it a good thing. When Ryan Kennel makes a point about Batman killing in the comics, like, that's okay. That doesn't necessarily mean that was a good decision. And I've never liked, whether it's in the comics or not, I don't care. I would prefer just not knowing anything about his parents, because having them be super spy people, I think is really stupid. And I can't exactly explain why it's stupid. I just personally really dislike that whole premise. I don't know your takes on his parents being a bunch of spies, but I didn't like that.
I actually enjoyed the mystery element to it. His motivation throughout the movie is, who were my parents? I never got to see them. Who were they? I've got these mysterious hints towards it. It added another layer to the movie that Tobey Maguire's trilogy lacked.
To be fair, that's really
I
unique.
Enjoyed the mysterious element.
To be fair, that's really unique, because I don't think any. I mean, I don't like it. But to be fair to this movie, I don't think there's been many Spider-Man comics or anything that's really cared to focus on his parents. It's always just kind of they're not around, like they died, and then he got you know dropped off with his aunt and uncle, and you just imagine that they died in a car crash or something, and he was left with his aunt and uncle. But so it's interesting that they decided to actually do something with his parents, because I can't think of a comic like anywhere, well, besides the ones he mentioned with his parents being spies, where they really dive into that. So, or I just don't think too many comics did that. But yeah, so that's a good point to this movie. I mean, I don't like it, but it's a good point to this movie being unique and different. So I'll give that.
Doesn't work for me here. It takes away from the everyman element that has made the character so successful. But if we were going to explore that, I think making their mysterious death leave some lasting trauma on Peter is the best way to do it. Making everything an extension of that trauma, that void, that missing piece is a brilliant way to retell the origin we have seen countless times. We've seen Peter get bit by the spider, but what if he got bit by the spider searching for answers, searching for a way to fill that fatherless void? And what if by doing that, he indirectly causes the death of the father figure that was right in front of him all along? The question the Amazing Spider-Man asks is whether or not this outsider can grow past that trauma, past that missing piece of himself. Can he grow past it and save the city from someone who couldn't grow past their missing piece? Or will he continue to search for it and in the process continue to hurt those who love him? The question the Amazing Spider-Man asks is whether or not Peter Parker can let go of ego, selfishness, resentment, and learn to be an empathetic Spider-Man. Can this kid grow up? And we can't talk about this kid or this movie.
Andrew did. Tom hasn't.
One of my favorite scenes in superhero movies is when the Aunt Bee in this wasn't the Tobey Maguire Aunt Bee, but she was still. Or wait,
She's good,
did I say
for
Aunt Bee?
sure.
I meant
She's
Aunt May, obviously.
Have you ever seen Mrs. Doubtfire?
Mrs.
Robin
Doubtfire,
Williams?
Mrs. Doubtfire. It rings a bell. Is that
That's the movie
one
where the
about
dad
the...
dresses up as a woman so he can see his
Yeah,
kids.
yeah. I've seen it.
Yeah,
Yeah.
because that's the
He dresses
mom
up as
from that
Banana.
movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah.
I
And
thought
I thought she
I thought she did good as
Yeah, I
Aunt
thought she was
May.
phenomenal. I think comic book wise, I think the Aunt May we got in Toby's is the most accurate. Like, she not only looks like Aunt
Right.
May, she like her entire character is like it. But since and it's also really weird, what I've noticed is as we've gotten more Spider-Man movies, she gets younger and younger, because she was comic accurate in Tobey Maguire's. She's a bit younger in Andrew Garfield's, and now she's really, really young in Tom's for some reason. But you know, it is what it is. Oh, he died again. The boy has left the chat. Now it is just me again. Man, we've been streaming for an hour and 52 minutes. Insane. Hello.
I died again. Sorry.
It's okay. I can hear you though, so you're good. But yeah, I was just saying how it's weird that the ants get younger and younger with each iteration.
The next
But
ant, you know how sometimes you could have like
she's gonna be
ants
10
who are
years
younger
old.
than you.
You're gonna
Yeah. You can
have an
have
ant.
ants who are younger than you in like today's world. It's kind of
Yeah,
crazy.
it's
but
gonna
you
be like
can.
a little.
I know people like that.
The next series is going to have like a 12-year-old Peter Parker, and his aunt's going to actually be like the fourth daughter of his grandma. And so it's going to be like a little sister vibe instead of an aunt vibe, because she's going to be like 5 years old. And I don't know. But they just keep getting younger and younger.
Yeah.
But also Aunt May and
yeah.
I was going to say she's not horrible because she's barely in it, but I don't care for the Aunt May we have in Tom Holland's movies. I like her in both Andrew Garfield's movies and Tobey Maguire's movies.
Right. You don't like the sexy Aunt May who Downey flirts with in those
Yeah, not really.
movies.
She's not Aunt May. She's just a lady that's there.
But she's good for what she is in it.
Yeah, she's fine, but I can't really hate her
yeah.
because she's barely in the movie anyway. She's
Yeah.
such a small part of all of them.
There's my face. Really close up. That's great. Good job, finger, for slipping.
Oh. Alrighty. Well, I'm gonna put the share back on,
All
and
right.
then get back into your favorite Spider-Man discussion.
I really am excited to react to the Spider-Man 3 explained by an idiot video with you. I think you're gonna laugh a lot watching it.
I think
But
that will
it's
be
only 6
probably
minutes long, so
yeah. I think it'll be Spider-Man 3, and then that next time we do a stream on this
sounds good.
topic.
Yeah.
I think this is because this is 43 minutes. I think that's it for today. Then I gotta walk my dog.
Yeah, I
so,
agree.
Yeah.
What kind of dog do you have before we get back into
Chihuahua Terrier. It's a Chihuahua Terrier breed.
It's a small little dog, huh?
Yes, for sure.
Nice.
Little dog, and then
I
a
have,
black cat named Juliet.
Ooh, you like cats?
I do. I like cats and dogs. Fine. I don't
I'm more of
particularly
a
hate.
dog person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think I'm
I've had
slightly
bad
more cat
experiences with
person.
cats.
My
Okay.
cat's
Yeah.
the sweetest thing. My cat's the sweetest thing. But I
Nice.
think because I don't have to do as much with her, right? If she
Right,
wants to be
yeah.
pet, she'll come up to me. She poops in the litter box. I clean that, once or twice a day. That's about it. With the dog, I gotta take time out of my day to take him outside, walk her, wait for her to poop, let her sniff around, do stuff, bark at neighbors that are just doing their thing, and then bring her back. So it's a whole 20 minutes gone. The cat, it's not as much of a hassle, but yeah, dogs are definitely cute for sure, and I love my dog. But yeah. Oh, he died again. Oh boy, this keeps happening today. You there? Hello?
I'm so sorry. Can you hear me now? Hello?
Yes, I can. Yeah.
Let's get back to the video and try to get this watched. I'm so sorry.
Okay.
My
It's okay.
connection's so bad. I'm
It's
the
all
worst.
good.
Sorry.
No, you're fine.
Spirit of an adolescent and the sort of awkward fumbling and the nervous quality that I was looking for.
But it was not an ordinary lizard.
There's always some depth, there's always some range, and I think people really have responded to Andrew's performance in a way that should serve him well as time goes by. I think they'll realize that his performance in this movie is pretty iconic and kind of a game changer.
Andrew Garfield is not the best Spider-Man, and he is certainly not in the best Spider-Man franchise.
How
Hold on. Let him talk. Let him talk. Let him talk. Let him finish his sentence before you get all triggered.
A Spider-Man franchise, but he is by far my favorite actor to play Spider-Man. He feels young to me. He may not look the age, but the way he plays it is just so good. I knew guys like this in high school, and I sometimes felt like I was this guy in high school. Every line delivery, every look, every stutter or moment of stillness is so graceful and deliberate. The way he plays himself around Ben, around May, around Gwen, around Captain Stacy, they're all unique. They're all meaningful. He's not the classic character ripped off the page. You cannot blame him for the material he had to work with.
So you're right there?
Yeah, sorry. I didn't eat my breakfast this morning, so I'm snacking during this.
Oh, okay.
So missed the most important meal of the day.
Yeah.
So
what he said is the reason he said that is because he's not comic accurate, but he likes the performance given despite that. Is what he's saying. Whereas he felt that Tobey's was more comic accurate. But adaptation wise, that's a true statement because he doesn't act a lot like the Spider-Man in the comics. I mean, he has his moments,
right?
But he brings a unique take to the character. He's not saying that's bad. You're saying that's why he can't be a perfect adaptation because in order to be a perfect adaptation, you have to be a lot like the source material, which he just isn't. And I think that's something even as your favorite, you can agree upon.
Yeah, I think it's the difference that set him apart and made him my favorite.
That's fair.
I'm gonna mute my mic whenever I take a bite of my food, so it doesn't transfer onto the audio.
About what this character meant to him, it isn't hyperbole. It isn't lip service to appease the fanboys. Andrew loves Spider-Man, plain and simple, and that's abundantly clear in his performance.
No.
This is what freedom sounds like. And
Tell us a bit more about Febreze. What can it?
Uh,
What odors
the
can it cover up?
it can cover up the poop that I leave on the floor when I'm too lazy to go to the bathroom. It can clean up Matt Wilkins' pit stains from his armpits. And it can clean up Stig after he goes number 3 in the bathroom, and can just keep your whole household clean from all the dead rats hiding underneath your house.
Number 3 is in what I think you're referring to.
Number 3 is diarrhea.
All right, I've heard it referred to as 3 different things,
Oh, fair enough.
but we could get into it at a later date,
Okay.
or
All
not,
right.
or
With
not.
the Amazing Spider-Man.
Sick
Spider-Man
logo,
doesn't
great
become
logo.
Spider-Man until 55 minutes into the film. And he doesn't really become Spider-Man until an hour and 17 minutes into this 2-hour and 16-minute movie. That says a lot about the kind of filmmaker Mark Webb is and what he cares about. Mark Webb cares about people, human beings, how they grow, how they act around one another, how they change. Spectacle ain't where his heart lies. It's the moments of two people talking. Mark Webb cares about character. Sony hired him not because he had 17 large-scale genre movies under his belt, but because he had one really great soul-filled indie romance. He brings that to this. Mark Webb takes what could be two-dimensional characters and adds that third dimension. Flash Thompson has an arc in this movie that tracks right along with Peter's arc. He has 4 major scenes with Peter, and each scene reflects how they are both growing or regressing as people. In the first scene, he is the typical bully that throws basketballs at hipsters' heads and forces pasta down little kids' throats. We get the save the cat moment with our hero, the moment where Peter acts selflessly to protect the kid, and we see how Flash responds. The next time we see Flash is when Peter is now using his new powers to get even. Flash is still
Hey, there's the scene.
now Peter decides to bully him back. This time he's the one.
That's my issue. He tries to bully him back. That's not what a hero does. You don't be a hero by being a bully back. You be a hero by being above that. But I understand why you like the scene, because Andrew acts it out very well. I just don't appreciate as somebody who's
Flash
supposed to
had
be a
it coming
hero.
to him.
Okay,
I
that's
personally think
fine, but
Andrew
that's not what a
helped him
hero
here.
does.
He'd been
Okay.
he'd been disliked his entire life by the general everyone. By humiliating him, maybe just maybe he was humbled, and he humbled himself beyond this and actually gained real friends and grew as a person because of what Andrew did to him here.
Sure, but Andrew's intention was not to make him a better person. It was to be mean back. He didn't have this ulterior motive. You're just saying the results that came from that.
No.
Are you saying that he just saw the future and went, okay, if I do this, he's going to become a better person? Or do you think he went, oh, he was a
No.
jerk to me, so I'm going to be a jerk back? And that was his only thought in that
No.
moment.
He didn't
And
do
to,
either
and
of
to
those.
give justice to the kid who was bullied.
Yeah, what I think is Flash has been mentally and physically abusing his school probably since grade school, right? He's always been the biggest, always the toughest, always the meanest, and nobody fought back. Nobody fought back until now. And now he finally realizes I can fight back and make an example of Flash and make sure that Flash realizes that he's not the best thing there is. He's not invincible. And so that maybe Flash will treat us better as a result.
I don't know if that was his thought process, but I understand where you're coming from. I mean, I just don't see him thinking the way you're thinking in that moment, because he seemed pretty angry already. When you're angry, you think irrationally. So, and, Jesus would have said turn the other cheek, right? So, I don't know. But I understand where you're coming from. But I'm going to let the scene continue, otherwise we're going to
Then
be
there
here
is Jesus, when
Hmm.
Jesus tips the table?
Yeah, but that's because they
they're in
were
his
blaspheming
father's
God.
house.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that's different because he's God.
And Flash was
His righteous anger.
right. Yeah.
But
Right.
we're not
Righteous
God.
anger.
Yeah. Well, I
Obviously
know
not,
you're going to
yeah.
argue that he's
Um,
having righteous anger in the movie, but it's still, we're limited, and he doesn't know the future of his actions. So I understand where you're coming from, where he thinks he might, but even still, he doesn't know that, and he's mostly just doing it to get back at him in this scene right here. But I understand that he could also have been thinking maybe this will humble him. I'm just saying, if I was him, I in no way am thinking that far ahead about somebody else's like mental state. Now they might fix. I'm thinking I'm gonna get this guy back for all the times he's been a jerk, and that's as far as my brain's going in that moment. Are you just muted right now?
Oh yeah,
Oh, you're still
yeah.
okay.
I was taking
Okay.
some.
Okay.
I was taking some Cheetos in anger for disagreeing with your opinion. There.
Oh, okay. Okay. Fair enough. I'm gonna continue.
Chomping on some Cheetos.
Okay.
Throws the basketball. Peter is still sticking up for the little guy, but this time he is cool about it. He has yet to
This is
learn
my
what
point.
comes with his new great power. A bit later, we see Flash at Peter's lowest point. He is about to use his spider powers for vengeance and vengeance alone. He's angrier than ever and more bitter than ever. Instead of fighting back, instead of being that bully, Flash empathizes with him.
Your uncle died. I'm sorry. I'm sorry.
What a great moment. His final scene with Peter is at the very end of the movie. Once Peter has completed his journey, both characters have grown, now have a mutual understanding and a bit of love towards one another.
Coming along, man.
Mark Webb takes that traditional bully and turns him into an empathetic person. He grows. Captain Safety could just be the mean cop that wants to stop Spider-Man, but instead he's a loving father who wants what's best for his city. And Aunt May and Uncle Ben could only be these icons, these motivating factors for Peter, but in this film we see more of their loving relationship. We see their personalities. We see their hobbies.
Ben Parker, don't you even think about leaving that filthy box in my kitchen.
These are my bowling trophies.
This might be a bit of a hot take, but I think Martin Sheen may be my favorite on-screen Uncle Ben. And that's saying a crap ton because I adore Cliff Robertson's iconic portrayal of Ben. But this Ben feels more like a person and less of that icon. As a little bit of an aside, it's so stupid to say this.
But if you could do good things for other people, you have a moral obligation to do those things. That's what's at stake here. Not choice, responsibility.
When you could just have him say it.
With great power comes great responsibility.
There you go.
This Ben Parker is played honestly and realistically. He's a blue-collar worker that has very firm traditional values.
That's my cue. I'm gonna have to go. We're going out shopping with the family now, and I hear that they've arrived home. So
It's all right. Well,
I'm
then we'll
gonna have to make an abrupt leave.
It's all right. We'll finish it next
Yeah.
time then. We're on 15
I
minutes
really
in.
apologize.
Oh, you're all good.
I apologize.
It's been fun. It's been 2 hours,
Thank
so
you.
it's been a ride.
Super fun.
Yeah, for sure.
For sure.
Well, I'll catch you next time.
All right. See you, dude.
I'll catch the rest of you
Thanks for
guys
having me on.
watching. Yeah, for sure. Bye, everyone.